Italy all over the world, well, Lazio Lounge or the Vecinovic podcast, as you prefer. We're here to talk about Lazio Atalanta, and I'm joined by Alison McKenzie, who now probably will say I was right last Sunday, right? Vecinovic-Savic. I mean, another Milinkovic style goal, right? The one of Vecinovic. And what a goal. My God.
Yeah, I mean, this one really was quite Sergei-like. It was amazing technique. I mean, obviously he had quite a lot of time and space in the box, but the way he managed to get his kind of foot horizontally at head height to smash that in. Yeah, I mean, I think he's been listening to the podcast, Vittorio. You've filled him with confidence, and now he's ready to deliver for you.
Yeah, you saw. It's funny. I don't know if you saw the picture. Close to Vecino, there is to Vecinovic. Sorry, there's Isaacsen, and he's like, "What are you doing?" when he hit it. But yeah, three very important points. We're still not where we want to be, Alistair. But I mean, a great win against Atalanta, and let's not forget, Atalanta is a difficult opponent for us. Last year we lost badly at home against them. This year we won, and the only disappointing thing, Alistair, is that ahead 2-0 after what 17 minutes, we managed to struggle even in a match like that. That's really annoying.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think overall you have to look at it positively because, like you say, Atalanta aren't an easy team to beat, full stop. Also, it's back-to-back wins for the first time within the space of a few days. It's a win after a European game, which, let's not forget how often we were speaking about that problem last season. You know, the record Lazio had after European matches was terrible. And yeah, it's sending this team into the international break finally with a bit more confidence, and I think the fans too, because I think there are things we saw in that game that should give us confidence. For example, you know, the stuff we were talking about after the Celtic game of finally feeling like we're seeing evidence of this improved squad depth and the impact it can have. I think we saw that again. I think it was great to have 2 games in a row where you felt like the bench came on and made a real impact. And yeah, although they threw away a 2-goal lead, they did still have the mental fortitude to turn that back around in their favour. So I think there's loads of positives here. We would have loved a clean sheet, obviously, but I mean, it's a fantastic win and could be a really important one by the end of the season as well.
Let's start from the starting 11 because Ciro Immobile picked up an injury and wasn't able to not only play, he wasn't even on the bench. So this is, I mean, in the past, this would have been a terrible news, right, Alistair? Without Ciro, it would have been a disaster. Now we have Tati Castellanos. We talked about it a lot. We needed a Vice Immobile. And I think Tati Castellano is more than a Vice Immobile. He played for the second consecutive time from the start because let's not forget he played last Saturday against AC Milan from the beginning. Again, Ciro Immobile wasn't 100% fit. He came in the second half. Ciro started against Celtic in Glasgow. He picked an injury there. I didn't notice. He wasn't able to play. He hasn't been called for the national team because of this injury. Tati Castellano, 1 goal, 1 assist. I think overall, man of the match.
Yeah. You can't ask for much more. And he had a real presence, like penalty box presence, I think. You see the difference between having him as your Ciro backup and, say, having Felipe Anderson, because it's something we spent a lot of time last season debating, as Felipe Anderson was doing a good job there, but he makes the team play in a very different way because he's coming deeper, he's dropping into spaces, and he's not, you know, on the shoulder of defenders and so on. Whereas Castellanos, that is his more natural game. He is attacking the box, he's attacking that space. And the goal he scored was like fantastic, but also it was kind of like it made me feel like kind of relieved. I was like, because it was all of the front three combining. Like Zaccagni, who's I feel I feel coming to life a bit this season. He's the last few games he's been getting a bit more involved, and he's
Yeah.
the one who picks up the ball in the center of the pitch and fires it out to the right wing. Fantastic cross from Anderson, good finish. It's like seeing the front three combine like that is something we've not seen much of at all this season. So that was fantastic. And yeah, like there's been a lot of this start of the season. There's been cries to see Castellanos, and I think it was really important that when he actually got these chances, he took them. Because when you're a striker, there's a lot of pressure on you to be, scoring goals and immediately making an impact in that way. I think the only downside, Vittorio, was that it wasn't an overhead kick. We had so many promising signs that it would be.
Well, or maybe it's that the difference maker. He didn't try a single, right? This time he tried against Celtic, against Milan. I mean, I don't want to know at Formello how often he tried it, but yesterday he didn't, and he scored and made an assist. I thought it was very important game for him because Atalanta is a very good team. They don't allow you to do too many things. Uh, he scored. He fought for 95 minutes, and let's be honest. After what was it, 27 minutes, the huge chance Casale missed. If Casale leave the ball, there's Tati Castellanos there, and I don't think he's going to miss that. So he could have scored twice in just 27 minutes. That would have finished the game from my point of view.
Yeah.
But tells you how focused he was, how uh, concentrated he was there, right position at the right moment. So that's really encouraging.
Yeah, and I feel like we are generally getting more out of the new signings as well. I thought Isaacson again came on and made a better impact than he has in previous games. Okay, I think perhaps his problem is he really wants something special to happen, doesn't he? But he does look like such a dangerous player to bring on against the way he runs players, the way he takes them on. So that's been more encouraging. Guendouzi, likewise, making more of an impact. Ravella, I thought, again, looks impressive. Again, impressed by him defensively. So, yeah, I think it's great going into this break, feeling like, I think the last international break, it felt a bit like, God, there are all these pieces and we don't really know how to fit them together. And although we're not quite there yet, I don't think anyone can say with real authority exactly who we use where and how and what combinations, but it does feel like we're getting closer and there's been progress. Castellanos leading the charge there, but I think generally the whole squad, they'll take a lot from 2 wins in a row as well.
You talked about Felipe Anderson and Isaacson. What do you make about Felipe Anderson's performance? Because, as you mentioned, the assist was amazing. I give a lot of credits to Felipe Anderson for Tati Castellanos' goal. I guess even you could have scored from there, but the assist is amazing. But apart from that, Felipe Anderson was pretty much invisible. And we need Felipe Anderson back because even though we can argue, and we said it even when Carson joined us, he's not playing at the same level of last year. He still made 4 assists so far in 8 games, which is not bad. But second half, yesterday, he pretty much disappeared. So I don't know. What's your take on Felipe Anderson?
Well, I feel like Felipe Anderson is so far having a very Felipe Anderson style season in the kind of stereotypical sense of there are flashes of brilliance and long stretches of not particularly making an impact. And that has generally been the biggest criticism that's been, put at him during his career, is he's not consistently able to stay at a certain level. He is one of Sarri's most trusted players, possibly the most trusted player, considering how many games he played last season. So it's going to take a hell of a lot for him to be knocked out of the team. Sarri really rates him. We know that he thinks he's very important to the way the team plays. But yeah, I mean, the good thing is that there are there are alternatives who are putting their hands up, and that's a big difference to last season. Because
And this is my
Gabriel
point, Alistair.
Cancellieri never put pressure on Anderson's position, whereas now it's not just Isaacson who's coming on and making an impact. It's Pedro. I mean, Pedro is, obviously the glory of Celtic Park, but made a big impact against Milan off the bench, and then again last night. He scored 3 goals in 3 games. He's just unlucky that 2 of them were disallowed.
Yeah, that's very Lazio style. 3 goals, but only one was conceded. That's terrible. But
The
you
first
know what?
touch yesterday, though, oh my God. I mean, the
Yeah,
way he took the ball down was unbelievable.
I have to be honest. When he touched the ball, I said, "This must be offside.
Yeah,
He's too far away." But I didn't see the replay, so they didn't show if it was that much of an offside or
they they did. Yeah, he was very offside.
you can see it from the pitch, but you know, you didn't. I didn't have the chance to see the replay, so I was wondering how much. But the point of Felipe Anderson, Alistair, and Sari mentioned it. He's he defends very well. But my point is, he's still a winger. I mean, the priority should be scoring or provide assists rather than defending. I understand that with Isaacson, we are a little bit outbalanced. He's much more dangerous as an attacker and still haven't learned how to defend. But my point is, he's a winger. He should be more focusing on scoring goals rather than defend. And with Isaacson coming in like he did yesterday, I mean, I don't remember if when he had the ball on his feet, any Atalanta defender was able to stop him. So, would
Yeah.
you rather start him next match or give another opportunity to Felipe Anderson?
Well, I mean, you can't underplay the importance of the wingers defending well. And I think that's something that actually started the game yesterday in particular. Zaccagni was doing really well. And it has been a bit of an issue this season that the team's defensive structures haven't been working. So that's something you do need. It's something we spoke about with Isaacson before, is slight doubts about whether he really wants to be doing that. And if he's got that kind of desire to be tracking back and being in shape and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I mean, you can't argue with the numbers. Like you said, it's not bad numbers at all from Anderson. I think what I'd like to see from him a bit more is just the it's felt a bit like he's too stuck out on his wing at times, and it's a strange thing to say about a winger, perhaps. But I think when we've seen the best things from him has been more when, like Zaccagni has been more recently, when he's coming in and connecting more with the front three and stretching defenses and switching wings. And that assist he made for Zaccagni,
Yeah, against Torino.
yes, so they're overloading an area of the pitch by him coming over and creating problems that way. And that was really good to see. That was a great goal, and I think we've not seen enough of that. But that feels like a problem that can be solved easily. The only issue is it's obviously harder to get back. If you lose the ball, if there's a turnover in possession, it's harder to get back into shape quickly if you're in the wrong part of the pitch. But it will stretch defenses more, ask more questions that way. So, yeah, I mean, that's a long-winded way of basically saying I don't think he's going to be losing his place anytime soon. But it is great that finally we have a feeling that people are putting pressure on those positions.
You mentioned Zaccagni a lot so far. I was surprised to see him coming off in the second half, but unfortunately, him and Luis Alberto picked a couple of injuries. Now it doesn't look very serious. They're gonna miss the national team, but Ciro Immobile is out. Luis Alberto had an injury. Zaccagni as well. Start to get a little bit anxious of this little injury that are bugging our team now.
Well, I mean, if none of them are serious, it's not the worst thing, because it's kind of a reminder of the need to rotate, the need to be really careful. And I don't think Sarri really needs to be reminded about that. But he's fed up with how many games there are. This is the busiest part of the season. We all know that the first few months with the group stages and international breaks, and it's just relentless. But we do need to be careful. I mean, it was good to see he said he saw Alberto was tiring and he took him off, and I think that's quite a courageous thing to do in a way, because we still needed Alberto, really, in the sense that we needed a spark, we needed a goal, and we've relied on Alberto to provide that this season. And then Alberto becomes your kind of like, reminded me of like Cristiano Ronaldo at Euro 2016, when he's kind of like the second coach in the dugout. He's on the side of the pitch, he's shouting at all the players, and I thought that just showed how much Alberto is taking on responsibility this season. Even when he's not playing, he's kind of becoming this kind of like, talisman of the team.
To be honest, I was surprised he wasn't upset when he came off. Against Celtic, he was subbed and he wasn't happy at all. Yes,
I thought he was a bit, wasn't he? The camera kind of zoomed in on him and he didn't look very happy. But
from the pitch, I didn't see. He went to give the armband to Marusic, I thought, yeah, and then went off. So,
but I mean, the thing is, we were 2-0 up, brilliant start, fast start to that game, looked to be cruising, throw it away to 2-2. I don't know what it was like in the stands. I imagine everyone's thinking, "Oh my God, here we go again."
Yeah.
But then, and you don't have Chiro, Alberto's been taken off, and you still managed to turn around that game and win it with a completely new front three of Pedro Isaacson and Castellanos on the pitch. I mean, that's what really encourages me, is not only were they able to take control back of that game and win it, but they were able to do so without any real leaders on the pitch, particularly without their kind of key men on the pitch. They did it anyway. I guess like against Celtic. So yeah, it's like the new Lazio, like I say, we're starting to see more of it.
Yeah, and you didn't mention that we saw Luis Alberto and Guendouzi, who started in midfield, and Rovella, and put in Kamada, Vecinovic, and Cataldi. I mean, they changed the game.
Yeah.
And Cataldi came in late, and last year he was starting pretty much every single game. This tells you how much we improved our depth in midfield. Obviously, we lost Milinkovic-Savic, but we added so much depth that it's hard to compare this team to last year. I mean, usually we have to put in Basic, who is now on the bench pretty much every game without playing a single minute so far. So yeah, this is really important.
And last season, our other option up front was Cancellieri, who's now struggling to get a game at Empoli, who are bottom of the league. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely... you're definitely starting to see evidence of it. I mean, Vecino is the kind of story so far, really, isn't he? Especially the impact he's been making in two positions. Like you say, all new midfield last night, but last night he was coming on playing as a mezzala again. So we've been playing him. We've seen him not only having a great start to the season, but really making an impact, playing in two different roles. So my question to you really is, do you think that's his best role as a mezzala? Because the Vecinovic-Savic thing, if you want him to be doing that, the late runs in the box, the attacking impact, all that, he has to be playing in that position, right? He can't be a regista because he's not going to be able to impact the game in that way from that position so much.
Well, he did. He did.
To be.
Someone's calling. My daughter's calling. He did, but I mean, with Rovella playing like that, would you sub him? I mean, Rovella yesterday was great. And the most interesting thing is that we know he has skills. He's very good at moving the ball. But yesterday, I don't know how many balls he recovered. He made a lot of tackles. And, we conceded too many goals. And we are conceding too many goals. But I don't think it's because we are playing Rovella there in that position. So I think that Rovella is giving us balance, and we can really start playing with Rovella, Vecino and Luis Alberto Camada there. So we have so many options. Alice, are still not used to it. I mean, last year was Milinkovic-Savic, Cataldi, and Luis Alberto. This year we can play Guendouzi in Serie A, Camada in the Champions League, rotate Vecino, Cataldi, and Rovella. So we have so many options, and I agree that probably Vecinovic has to play like Milinkovic last year. He can be more dangerous there, but again, he can be used in different position. So this is even more important for us. But we didn't talk that much about Rovella. Again, incredible performance. And I don't know if you noticed, I don't think Cataldi coming in was very happy to play so late, and he didn't start in the last couple of games, which never happened last year. So again, Cataldi is another interesting option we have, right?
Yeah, and he's a good, honest pro, as they say. I don't think Cataldi's the kind of player who's going to be kicking up a fuss about not starting as much as he used to. I think he goes under the radar a bit. He did play a huge role in the second place finish last season. He's not a guy who particularly lights things up or ends up in highlight reels and all that. So people don't perhaps give him enough credit. But he, especially if you think back to the start of his career and what the expectations on him, and then his chance seemed to be gone with Lazio, and then he's come back and managed to integrate himself and become a really important player. So yeah, the thing is, like you're saying, there are all these different options, all these different roles, but that there is a risk with that it can just become a bit confusing, and that sometimes you're kind of like, it reminds me a bit, I think it was Fiorentina last season, who just kind of had all these players who you're kind of looking at their squad and you're like, God, they've got a lot of quite good players, but it seemed to change every week and you didn't really have a clue who was playing when, and there is a risk of that happening. So the thing I've been encouraged by the last couple of games is it's felt a bit more like we're getting to understand what each player offers and how they can influence a game, what kind of games they're best used for. There's a bit more clarity instead of just throwing them on and hoping for the best, which is kind of how it felt earlier in the season.
Well, that's the advantage of having an experienced manager like Maurizio Sarri. I mean, he's not like Italiano. He's not very popular for turnovers, but he knows how to do it, it looks like. He knows how to rotate players. Obviously, at the beginning of the season, and he said it, right? He said, we need to rotate because we are playing too many games, but I have to put in players who are not ready. Like he said, Guendouzi, Kamada, etc. They're not 100% in the scheme, so they need time. But I need to play them, and you can see improvement. Yesterday, Guendouzi hit the crossbar. That would have closed the game, and it was just, what was it, 17 minutes into the game, and we could have been 3-0 easily.
And that Musso save on Casale as well.
Yeah, there Casale, he should have scored, or leave it to Tati Castellanos. But yeah, the first 25 minutes, Alistair, it was unbelievable football. We have to say something. It was really, really hot in Rome yesterday. It's unbelievable. We are in October, and you still have to get out in shorts, and it's so hot. It was 30, today it's 31 degrees. I mean, it's still summer here, so it was really hard to imagine that we could have kept that pace for 95 minutes. But with substitution, we made it. And other interesting fact, Alistair, this is the second game in a row with a player coming on from the bench scoring. Last year, it never happened.
Yeah, the heat thing, the one thing made me laugh, which is that Lazio put out a tweet that was kind of like before the game saying, "Oh, finally, it's our first 3:00 home game of the season." And then, 2 hours later, everyone's like, "Oh God, why did we have our first 3:00 home game of the season?" And Sarri's saying it was 50 degrees in the center of midfield and all this. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I'm not always convinced that's like an excuse because the players feel that the same way. It doesn't make things easy, but it made a fast start more important, probably. It was such a good fast start, though. I mean, I can't remember. There's definitely not been as good a start this season to a game, but I can't remember when Lazio have raced into a 2-0 lead that quickly, when the last time was, it was very impressive. Yeah, I'm hoping the the autumn arrives eventually. I'm struggling here, Vittorio.
I can imagine. I can imagine. I'm fine, thanks. I mean, it was hot at the Stadio Olimpico yesterday, to be honest. It was really hot. But, this is Rome. Too many soft goals, Alison. I mean, even yesterday, Atalanta, those two goals were very easy. Again, the first one, he's absolutely all alone in the penalty box, which is cannot be allowed. It's pretty much the same thing that happened against Pulisic against Milan a week ago. And the second one, come on, Marusic, you're 190 tall, and he just give you a small push and you lose your balance. Come on, you must be tougher than that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think if we're going to find negatives from this performance, that's it, isn't it? It's the same old thing. I was just having a quick look. So 12 goals conceded in the first 8 games. If I remember correctly, I think we conceded 30 all season last year. So we're already, heading towards a quarter of the goals conceded pretty quickly. Well, no, it's more than a quarter. My maths is all over the shop. But yeah, I think that Ederson goal, like you say, is a familiar sight by now. I don't know what's going on there, but we've spoken about this a few times. The space that's being left to players in that kind of area between the defensive line and the midfield line, the edge of the box kind of zone. So that's disappointing. I mean, Provedel also made a really, really good save on Ketelaere at 1.2. So there's no doubt that, if there's an equivalent Atalanta podcast, they will be saying today, we could have and should have won that game because of the chances they created, the way they came back into that match. I disagree. I think Lazio overall deserved to win the game from the way they started and the way they closed it. But that period's Lazio were under pressure. It's understandable that if you start that fast, that the momentum can swing in the other direction. I just think that would have liked to see them kind of soak up the pressure a bit more effectively, rather than concede another 2 goals. But it's a win, and it's not just a win, but like the Celtic game. On paper, you see what beating Celtic away in the Champions League, beating Atalanta at home in Serie A. Those are 2 good wins, but not wins that on paper people are like, oh, that's absolutely incredible. What is so important here for me is that what they mean kind of historically for that in the context of a Lazio season. The Celtic one is an away win in Europe, which just doesn't happen. It's a comeback win that just doesn't happen, and it's a late win again. Then the Atalanta one, it's a win right after a European away match, which never happened before. And it's a game that they've managed to, again, produce a mental response to going from 2-0 up to 2-2. That is the kind of blow that mentally can really hit Lazio in the past, but they've managed to come back and win it. They've had the depth on the bench to get themselves back into that game and win it. So I think we're seeing a real resilience to this team in the last 2 matches, and that's perhaps the most important thing.
The last time we beat Atalanta at home?
No.
6 years ago.
Is that right?
Yep.
Apart from the Coppa Italia final, does that not count?
In Serie A at home, 6 years ago. So in the last...
That's terrible, really? Wow.
In the last couple of days, we won an away game in Champions League after 20 years, and we beat Atalanta at home after 6 years. We are beating all our records now, right?
The added bonus you get is that you get to see Gasperini looking angry, which is always a satisfying sight.
Yeah, I was a little bit unhappy because he didn't complain that much. He said Lazio is a great team, they deserve to win. I mean, something's wrong there.
He looked furious during the game, constantly furious.
I mean, he didn't mention Bastos once. What's going on? I mean, hey, your friend Bastos. He brought it on every single game against Lazio. Now he stopped.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I do wonder if that kind of rivalry has softened a bit. Do you think?
Maybe his rivalry was with Simone Inzaghi, not with Maurizio Sarri. Who knows?
Yeah, well, I think there's just been a couple of seasons where it's not been necessarily like Lazio Atalanta head to head as much. It's been either more teams involved or it's I don't know. It's not felt. There were a couple of seasons where it felt like it was us or them who was gonna get top four, get Coppa Italia, whatever it was.
Anything. Anyway,
But
can I tell you? Can you tell you these things? Now we are 13th in the table, picking the top 9 so far. Milan is first in the table, and we play against Milan. Juventus is third. We played against them. Napoli is fifth. We played against Napoli. Atalanta sixth. We played against Atalanta. Monza seventh. We played against Monza. Frosinone we still have to play. Ninth is Lecce. We already played against them. So considering the top 9, we just have to play against Inter, Fiorentina, Frosinone. I mean, in 8 games, 3
yeah,
out of 9. This tells you that pretty much we played in 8 games 5 times, 6 times against the top 9. Wow, this is a lot.
yes, but you would still hope that Lazio aren't 13th after that run of games, and you would still hope that we would be up in that ranking of the top teams. Despite that, because that is the expectation. Last season
Well,
that was something Lazio were brilliant at, was performing in the big games. And look,
yeah,
obviously we've had 3 wins and 2 of them have been against Atalanta. Napoli is great, but
yeah, but
we can't color this and say, oh, it's been really tough start to the season, so 13th is fine. A tough start to the season doesn't mean that 10 points is fine. It just means that things are going to get easier, which is hopefully true.
I understand it's not fine, but let's remember that we played away against AC Milan. We won twice in 32 years away against Milan in Serie A. We played away against Juventus, and I think last time we beat Juventus away, it was 2019 with Strakosha saving the penalty in the last minute. We won against Napoli, and this is the first time we beat Napoli away twice in 47 years, something like that. So yes, obviously we needed to win against Genoa, we needed to win against Lecce, but these were really tough challenge, and it's not a surprise that Lazio lost those games.
Yeah, I think the 6 points from the 4 big games is okay as a return. It's not the end of the world. But yeah, it's your Monzas and your Lecce in general. That's where the problems lie. I guess the first 2 games of the season, it was still a bit of chaos around then of what the team looks like and all that. But so the Monza result was probably, you could say, the most disappointing one because it was at home and it was a bit further into the season. But you look at the form sheet now, it's 3 wins in the last 4 games, only 1 defeat in the last 6. That's definitely progress. All the stuff we've just been talking about, new signings integrating better, the team looking like it's functioning better, the team's mentality, their resilience looking a lot better. Even scored from a corner again. I know it was an own goal, but here we go. And yeah, now you look at the fixture list. In Serie A, at least, the next 3 games, Sassuolo away, Fiorentina at home, Bologna away. You can't call any of those easy games, but certainly, games the Lazio should be targeting wins in. And that's leading up to the derby, obviously, but I know you don't want to hear that word yet.
Not yet. The funny thing about the first goal is that the speakers announced Luis Alberto scoring.
Yeah, I heard that on the TV.
He said, scoring for Lazio, and then he'd been quiet because someone told him, hey, it's an own goal. So he waited for like 30 seconds and then started shouting, Luis Alberto! Seriously? Yeah?
I thought they were going to do Charles.
I thought that as well. It would have been so funny. It would have been so funny. But no.
Finally scoring in Serie A.
Yeah. Do you think he's going to stop? Because he tried against at the end of the first half. He shot directly on from the corner kick.
Well, I don't think he was shooting that corner. It was a good delivery. I mean, this kind of delivery you want because it's
Casale missed it. Was anticipated by the goalkeeper.
Yeah. But no, I mean that's been encouraging. Is that set pieces are leading to something recently, because that's been something we've complained about for ages.
And the goal Atalanta scored is the first goal we concede on free kick.
Mm. Is it? And we got when we got that free kick towards the end, and the Isaksen won right at the edge of the box, and Isaksen said, "This is mine." I was like, "Oh, I wonder," because there's something about like when a player feels that confident about it. A lot of the time, it feels like it's more likely it goes in just when they have the feel. And, I was like, "Oh, this would be so good," and wasn't too far away. But another option clearly from direct free kicks, Isaksen, if he feels he's got it in him.
Yeah, encouraging sign from Isaksen yesterday. Really,
Yeah,
I think he can have such an impact when the opponent defense is tired and he comes in. He's pretty much unstoppable when he's on form. So that's going to be really interesting. Obviously, I'm thinking Pedro and Isaksen should start in the coming games, but now we have the rest. We have to recover all injuries, players, and it's going to be exciting. Sassuolo, Lazio, difficult game for us.
direct head-to-head for 12th place. This one.
Yeah, we need to win, Alistair. Let's not forget that after that there is Feyenoord Lazio. That is going to be an even more important game for us, because after the win in Glasgow, if we get 1 point out of that, it would be amazing.
Yeah, Feyenoord is a massive game.
Yeah.
Just looking at the Sassuolo Lazio head-to-head, because for a while that was a real problem game, but actually now 3 wins in the last 3 for Lazio. Only 1 goal conceded, 2-0, 2-0 last season. So recent form has been pretty good in that fixture. And it's a hard thing, isn't it, with Champions League? It's this kind of like focus thing, the ability to really not have any distractions. And that Feyenoord game will be on their minds. Of course it will. But at least you hope with an international break and so on, they're able to kind of recover a bit of energy and have a bit more time to think about Sassuolo than they otherwise would, because it is one of these so-called banana skin matches where you can't slip if you're not careful.
Yeah, and we have to be careful for Berardi. Anyway, Alistair, I think we can wrap it up here. Thanks again for joining me. Thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for our Patreon who keeps supporting us. Thanks for your help, guys. And we'll be back after the break for Sassuolo Lazio. Very important match. Thanks again.
Cheers.